stopped by this lovely stream to have a little rest while I'm foraging. I've been foraging on ridiculous steep hills and clambering over things and under things, and got quite a lot of twigs in my hair now, so I'm just having a stop. But while I was stopped, I noticed that something I meant to make a video on a while ago, just because it often is the first or one of the very first edible greens that appears in what feels like still winter, that tells us that it's spring. And it's also really tasty and underrated. And it's this little thing here. And you can see, if I show you in situ, behind there, it's really quite small, you can see my fingers next to it. And it grows from this central point, like a little spray coming out. And I'm going to pick it to show you the leaf pattern and things up here, because that's actually quite a weird bend. So it has little leaflets either side of the stem, almost exactly opposite each other. Not quite, you can see, but almost exactly. And one bigger one on the end. And some of you, let's do this. Some of you will recognise this pattern because it reminds us of something else that we know. It looks a lot like little tiny watercress. And that's because it is a cress. This is Cardamine pratensis, which is hairy bittercress, which doesn't sound that appealing, I'm aware. But actually, it's a really delicious cressy little green, and added to sandwiches or sprinkled on top of salads or whatever you're making, it's absolutely delicious, zingy kind of highlight to whatever you're cooking or making. And I think quite underrated. I meant to show you actually that it's got tiny little hairs all over it, top and bottom. This is not the easiest example. There we go. Tiny little white hairs growing from the tops of the leaves there. Hence hairy bittercress. It's a nice identification feature. But there isn't really anything that is tiny like this, with these very rounded little leaves. Sometimes they're a little bit kind of elongated and lumpy. I'm going to find another one to show you what I mean. Do you see? But those little hairs on the leaves and that arrangement of kind of opposite, one bigger one at the end. And it's just a very small plant. It doesn't get much, well, a little bit bigger, but not masses. Not like, say, hemlock water dropwort, which I have had someone say that they were concerned about mistaking it for. But I really don't think it's something that you need to worry about. I think if it's this small little spray of leaves growing almost like a rosette, all out from one central point, with this leaf arrangement and little hairs on the leaf, it's likely to be hairy bittercress or a very similar little cress. There we go. And yeah, underrated, as I say. Enjoy it. It's a little bit different and a little bit punchy, and will lift your dishes. It's also, again, very common and fine to pick what you find, because it does grow everywhere. I often find it in quite damp places like this, but also often in kind of waste places, edges of gardens, along muddy paths. It just is quite a common one. Do press like and subscribe. I appreciate that when you do. It really makes a difference to me. And I'm going to get back to foraging and listening to this lovely stream as I walk.